At 1 a.m., I was thrown out of my home, barefoot, wet, and shaking. I begged a stranger to help me. He looked me in the eye, pulled out his phone, and started recording. My husband slammed the door and turned off the lights. I stood there in a towel, crying, while the security guard laughed and filmed me too. No one helped me, but they all watched. And now, they'll never forget what happened next. Before I tell you everything, please support this channel. Like, share, and subscribe. If you've ever felt small, broken, or completely alone, you're not alone now. My name is Chloe. I'm 34. I was a teacher, a quiet one. People said I was lucky. I had a handsome husband, Gareth, a rich man in real estate. From the outside, our life looked perfect, but behind closed doors, it was very different. One day, I found lipstick in Gareth's car. Bright red. I never wear red. I asked him about it that night. He snapped. He screamed that I was ungrateful. He said, "I pay for everything. Get out." I had just come out of the shower. I was still wet. He dragged me to the door and pushed me out, barefoot, in only a towel. I stood outside, cold and stunned. The security guard, Dean, didn't help. Instead, he laughed and pointed his phone at me, filming. I begged him, "Please, can I just sit inside?" He shook his head and said, "You brought this on yourself." The door slammed behind me. The lights turned off. No one came out. No one said a word. They just watched. I didn't know where to go. I had nothing. No phone. No money. I felt like I didn't exist anymore, like I had been erased. I sat on the cold pavement for hours, shaking and crying. Not a single person stopped. Not one person asked if I was okay. I had never felt so worthless. I was just a woman in a towel, and that's all they saw. But this isn't the end of the story. Not even close. Because after that night, something in me changed. And what they did to me, I made sure they would regret it for the rest of their lives. I hid behind a garbage bin for hours that night. My skin was still damp from the shower, and the cold air bit through the towel wrapped around me. I curled up tight, trying to stay small, trying not to be seen. Tears ran down my face, mixing with the dirt on my cheeks. I called my sister, even though we hadn't spoken in years. She didn't answer. I called her again. Still nothing. I messaged 2 old friends. No reply. I was alone. I wasn't supposed to survive this. Around 5 a.m., the street was quiet except for the soft sound of a mop on tile. A cleaning woman, maybe in her 50s, spotted me. Her name was Marta. She didn't ask many questions. She just looked at me for a moment, then walked away. I thought she was going to call security, but instead she came back with an old grey hoodie and a $5 bill. "Bus runs at 6, she said, slipping it into my hand. "Don't stay here. People like him don't stop." I don't remember the ride to the shelter. I just remember the smell when I walked in. Sour, like urine and bleach. The lights were too bright, the floor sticky. The woman at the desk barely looked up. "Name?" she asked. I gave her my middle name. I didn't want anyone to find me, not even me. They gave me a cot, a thin blanket, and a small locker. Around me were women with tired eyes, bruises, silence. Some stared at the ceiling, some just stared at nothing. No one asked why I was there. They didn't need to. They already knew. That morning, I stared at myself in a cracked mirror in the shelter bathroom. I didn't look like a person, just skin, bone, and sadness. I thought about going back, apologizing, pretending nothing happened. Maybe I could beg Gareth to let me stay, just until I figured something out. But then I remembered the sound of the lock clicking behind me, the guards' laughter, the strangers filming. I remembered the cold, the silence, the shame, and I realized no one was coming to save me. Not my husband, not my family, not anyone. So I had to save myself. That's the moment it changed. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I made a quiet promise right then, staring into that broken mirror. They thought they'd destroyed me. They had no idea what they'd just started. He used to call me his angel. In our wedding video, Gareth smiles so wide as he lifts the veil from my face. We looked perfect. Everyone said we were the dream couple. I believed it too. Back then, I truly did. But looking back now, I can see all the little signs. The way he started small. He'd say things like, "Your sister doesn't really get us," or "Why do you let your mum stress you out so much?" At first, I thought he was just being protective, loving, but slowly, I saw less and less of my family. He said it was better that way, less drama, more peace. Then came my job. I was a teacher. I loved it. But Gareth said, "Why work so hard when I can take care of us?" I didn't want to quit. I hesitated. He kissed me on the forehead and said, "I just want to spoil you. You're not like other women. You're soft, kind. You deserve rest." So I gave in. I handed in my resignation and let go of the one place where I still felt like me. Soon, I didn't have my own bank account. He said it made sense for everything to go through him. "It's just easier," he said, "less to worry about." He gave me a card with a set amount and told me not to bother him about money unless it was important. He praised me when I stayed quiet during arguments. He called me loyal when I looked away from his lies. "You're different from the rest," he'd whisper. "You trust me." I thought that meant he loved me more than anything. Now I know it meant he was making sure I'd never leave. Over time, I stopped making choices. I asked for permission to buy shoes. I stopped calling old friends. I even changed how I dressed. He didn't like certain colors, certain fits. I wanted to please him. I wanted to keep the peace. But somewhere along the way, I disappeared. My voice, my confidence, my dreams, they faded. I became someone who existed only in the shadow of him. I became invisible in my own life, and it took being thrown into the street, in a towel, to finally see the truth. It wasn't love, it was control. It was 10 years of lies. The day after I was thrown out, I tried to call my phone provider to get my number back. They told me the account was closed by the primary holder, Gareth. My name wasn't even listed anymore. I tried to log into our joint bank account. The password didn't work. When I called the bank, they said the account had been frozen for security concerns. Again, I wasn't authorized. I didn't exist anymore. No phone, no money, no address, no ID. I was living in a borrowed basement room offered by a kind woman from the shelter. The walls were damp, the mattress thin. The only light came from a single bulb that buzzed when it flickered. I felt like a ghost, a woman nobody could see. Then I saw what Gareth had posted online. "Prayers needed during this difficult time. Chloe's mental health crisis has been hard on all of us. Please respect our privacy." And just like that, he flipped the story. The comments flooded in. "Poor guy. Hope he's okay. She sounds unstable. Classic psycho wife." I stared at the screen in disbelief. He hadn't just locked me out of my life. He replaced me with a lie. He made himself the victim. And people believed him without question. Not one person asked where I was. Not one person wondered why he was the only one talking. I screamed into the pillow on that basement bed until my throat burned. I wanted to rip the phone in half. I wanted to punch through the wall. I wanted someone, anyone, to see what was really happening. But no one did. They just kept liking, commenting, sharing. He deleted me with a few clicks. He took my voice, my truth, and rewrote it to fit his version. And no one cared to look closer. I wasn't just alone. I was erased. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I had ended up here. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't crazy. I wasn't broken when I married him. I was full of life, full of hope. He took that piece by piece. And when I had nothing left, he made sure the world saw me as the villain. He made me disappear. But he forgot one thing. People like me, women like me, we don't stay gone forever. And I was done being silent. The video showed up on TikTok 3 days later. I hadn't seen it yet, but I felt it. People started looking at me differently, even at the shelter, whispering. A volunteer handed me her phone one night and said, "Is this you?" I stared at the screen, frozen. It was me, barefoot, wet, crying, wrapped in a towel, begging the security guard for help. He had filmed it. Of course he had. The caption read, "Crazy woman kicked out by husband." It had over 2 million views. The comments were worse than the cold. Yikes. Where's her dignity? She must have deserved it. Should have picked better. Looks like she's on something. I locked myself in the shelter bathroom and threw up in the gas station-style toilet. My knees hit the tile. My body shook. I couldn't believe this was my life. I had nothing left, and now I didn't even have privacy. Strangers were laughing at my pain, turning my trauma into entertainment. I felt like I was drowning and everyone was cheering it on. I sat on the floor, phone in hand, scrolling through hate. Each word dug deeper. Then, buried between all the cruelty, was one comment. "This feels off. Why's no one asking why she's in a towel?" Just one sentence. One stranger saw what no one else did. I stared at that comment for a long time. It was the first time anyone had asked a real question. Not what's wrong with her, but what happened to her. That comment was like a match struck in the dark. Something inside me shifted. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. I was thrown out, humiliated, lied about, but I wasn't invisible anymore. Someone had noticed. And if one person could see through the lie, maybe others could too. The video meant to shame me had become proof, evidence, a starting point. Gareth thought he had finished me off when he locked the door and turned out the lights. But what he really did was hand me a weapon. He filmed me to erase me, but I was going to use that same video to finally be seen. For 3 months, I disappeared. No updates, no posts, no replies. It was like I vanished off the face of the earth, which is exactly what I wanted. I changed my name, got a burner phone from a corner store and paid cash. I signed into shelters under false initials. I cut my hair, started wearing glasses, even changed how I walked. I didn't want Gareth, his lawyers, or his fake sympathy finding me. I wasn't running anymore. I was preparing. A quiet volunteer at the shelter, Linda, noticed me. She never pried, but she offered help one day after seeing me stare blankly at the wall for hours. She gave me a phone number written on a napkin. Legal aid, she said. Ask for Naomi. And a therapist. She's good. I made the call. Naomi didn't flinch when I told her everything. Instead, she nodded slowly and said, "We build from here." She helped me open a private email account, taught me what evidence to keep. I started collecting everything. Old emails Gareth sent when he was angry, voice recordings from arguments I had hidden on my old phone, bank records, screenshots of him transferring money from our joint account to his private one just days before kicking me out. I dug through my past like a crime scene. Every lie, every threat, every false smile, documented. My therapist, Janice, helped me stop shaking, helped me stop blaming myself. You survived something that wasn't meant to be survived, she told me. Now let's help you remember who you were before he erased you. I stayed quiet. I didn't respond to the growing noise online, the new posts Gareth made about healing privately or moving on from trauma. I didn't flinch when people still commented under that awful video, calling me names. They didn't know what was coming. I kept my head down, learned the system, read everything I could. Bit by bit, I built a new version of myself, smarter, colder, focused, not angry, but awake, sharp in ways I had never been allowed to be before. Gareth thought I was gone, broken, erased, but while he relaxed in his fake sympathy, I was putting together the truth. I wasn't falling apart. I was becoming dangerous. And soon the world would see exactly what he tried so hard to hide. I waited until I was ready. No warning, no announcement, just one quiet video on a new TikTok account, a woman in a towel. No face, no name, just my voice. Soft, steady, calm. In the background was a photo, slightly blurred, of a wedding invitation. He called me his angel, I said. Then he erased me. That was all. I didn't try to go viral, I just told the truth, one piece at a time. The second video showed an old email where he told me I wasn't allowed to buy a dress unless he approved it. The third had part of an audio clip, his voice, laughing, saying, "She has nothing without me." More videos followed, screenshots, documents, recordings, timelines, always careful, always real. I never used his name, I never used mine, but people started listening anyway. At first, the comments were quiet. I feel sick. This happened to my sister. Why do men like this always sound the same? Then one comment changed everything. Wait, that's the same apartment as the towel video. And then another. Oh my God, it's her. That clip of me barefoot in a towel, begging the guard. That video had lived on TikTok for months with millions of views and no context. But now, people started putting the pieces together. The same building, the same voice, the same story. The shift was immediate. The hate turned into outrage. People were furious. Not at me, but for me. Thousands of comments poured in. I remember that video. I thought it was a joke. I'm so sorry. She's not crazy. She's a survivor. I can't believe what she went through. Women started messaging me. Some shared their own stories. Some just said thank you. Some said my videos gave them the courage to leave, or speak up, or just finally stop blaming themselves. Within 2 weeks, I had over 1 million followers. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I was still scared, still healing. But now I had a voice, and people were listening. The same platform that once mocked me was now the place where I took my power back. I wasn't just the woman in the towel anymore. I was the one telling the story. It didn't take long for Gareth's perfect world to start falling apart. Once people realized who I was, The woman in the viral towel video, the attention shifted. But this time, it wasn't sympathy for Gareth. It was anger. Pure, loud, unstoppable anger. His company's social media was flooded with comments. You support abusers. Where's your apology? This is the man you trust with people's homes. Investors started pulling out. Partnerships were cancelled. His carefully polished image as a successful, charming real estate mogul began to crack. Then I posted the final video. It was short, just an audio clip. Gareth's voice, clear as day, laughing. She's nothing without me. I made her. It played over a black screen. No music, no editing. Just that line, repeated once, then silence. It exploded. People were furious. The comment section lit up like wildfire. This is who we believed. This is evil. He deserves everything coming to him. And then came the real twist. His mistress came forward. I never asked her to, but I guess even she had a line. She reached out to a news outlet and handed over emails, texts, and private recordings. Proof of shady business deals. Proof of him mocking not just me, but clients, employees, and even her. The media tore into him. Headlines everywhere. News anchors replayed clips from my TikTok side by side with his smiling public interviews. The story was too shocking, too real to ignore. Gareth tried to make a statement, some half-hearted denial with fake tears and vague words like regret and misunderstanding. But no one was buying it anymore. Even the security guard, Dean, the one who filmed me and laughed while I begged for help, fired, sued, publicly named. No company would touch him. His name was tied to humiliation, cruelty, and exploitation, just like Gareth's. Everything they built on my silence was falling apart now that I was speaking. I didn't scream, I didn't curse, I didn't even show my face for most of it. I just told the truth, and the truth was louder than any lie they told. Their power came from making me feel small, but they forgot. When a woman has nothing left to lose, she becomes something else entirely, unstoppable. The day I stood in court and heard the words judgment in her favor, I didn't cry. I didn't even smile. I just breathed deep, steady, like I was finally waking up after holding my breath for years. I won the civil suit. Gareth was forced to hand over everything he tried to keep. Our joint assets, the accounts he locked me out of, the property he thought I'd never step foot in again. I got it all back, not because he gave it to me, but because I fought, quietly, carefully, and completely. I reclaimed my legal identity, my name, my records. Everything he tried to erase was restored. It was like putting broken pieces of a mirror back together and finally seeing my reflection clearly. And then, for the first time since this all began, I turned on the camera and showed my face. No blur, no hiding, just me. The same voice that told my story in pieces now spoke clearly. This is the face of a woman who was supposed to disappear. That video went viral instantly, but this time the comments were filled with support, love, and fire. I remember the towel video. I can't believe this is her. She survived everything and still stands with grace. I wish my mom had a voice like hers. The interviews started coming. Podcasts, news outlets. People wanted to hear more, not just about what happened to me, but how I rebuilt, how I refused to stay quiet, how I used the same internet that mocked me to take my power back. I said yes to every opportunity that mattered, not because I needed attention, but because I knew there were other women out there, right now, being erased like I was, silenced, mocked, made to feel small. I wanted them to know that survival isn't weakness, that rebuilding doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means standing in your story and saying, I'm still here. Gareth took so much from me, years of love, trust, identity, but he didn't win because I got everything back and more. I didn't just survive. I became a voice for every woman who thought her story wouldn't matter, and now they know it does. I walked into the flat one last time. It was quiet, empty, cold, nothing like the place I used to call home. Gareth was long gone. The furniture was cleared out. No fake smiles, no cameras, no lies, just silence. Each step echoed. This was where he shouted at me, where I begged, where I was pushed out, barefoot and dripping, into the night. I walked to the bathroom. The mirror was still there. For a moment, I saw my old reflection, the scared woman, the one who thought love meant survival, the one who stayed too long hoping he'd change, but she wasn't real anymore. Then I saw it. hanging on the back of the door. One towel, the same kind I had wrapped around myself when he shoved me outside. White, soft, innocent. Just a towel, but it held so much pain. I took it down carefully, folded it with steady hands, and placed it inside a box I'd labeled evidence, because that's what it was. Proof, memory, power. I closed the box gently and stood there for a moment longer. No tears, no anger, just peace. The kind that only comes after surviving something that was meant to destroy you. That towel used to symbolize my shame. Now, it's the beginning of my story. Do you think Chloe was right to return to the flat one last time? Or should she have left that chapter completely closed? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Everyone sees healing differently, and if stories of strength, justice, and survival speak to you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss what's next.